Episode 2, Two Bodies, One Locket. The town of Blackwood Bay changed overnight. Blue and red lights cut through the thick morning fog as Chief Thomas Vance stood at the main bridge, blocking the only road out. "Nobody leaves until I say so," he barked at a line of idling cars, his voice echoing over the water. His face, usually a mask of weary duty, was now etched with a raw, personal terror. The body found at the Devil's Throat wasn't a ghost from the past. It was a fresh tragedy from his own family tree. Maya Lynn sat in her car just past the police line, her laptop open on the passenger seat. Her true crime podcast, once a look back at the decade-old disappearance of Clara Vance, had transformed in a heartbeat. She pressed the record button on her equipment, her voice steady but her hands shaking. "The history of Blackwood Bay has just collided with its present," she told her listeners. "A body has washed ashore, and the victim is Chloe Vance, the 22-year-old daughter of Julian Vance." Maya found Julian later that morning at the harbor, staring blankly at the dark, churning water. He looked like a man who had been struck by lightning, his clothes disheveled from a sleepless night. When he saw Maya, his eyes welled with a mixture of grief and profound confusion. "She was supposed to be at college, Maya," he whispered, his voice cracking. "She left 2 weeks ago. I drove her to the station myself." Julian pulled a crumpled photograph of Chloe from his coat pocket. In the image, she looked vibrant and hopeful, her hair windswept as she laughed. "She was starting over," Julian said, his thumb brushing the image. She didn't want the family legacy of tragedy to haunt her anymore. She had her whole life ahead of her. He looked up at Maya, his gaze pleading for an explanation for why his daughter had never made it to her dorm room. At midnight, Maya followed a cryptic tip to the back entrance of the county morgue. Dr. Evelyn Reed was waiting in the shadows, her white lab coat a stark contrast against the dark brick building. "This stays between us," Evelyn warned, her voice a low, clinical hum. She pushed open the heavy steel door, leading Maya into the sterile, chilling interior. The coroner's professional mask remained intact, but there was a flicker of urgency in her movements. Inside the cold room, Evelyn pulled back a heavy sheet, though she kept the victim's face obscured. "The town thinks she drowned, but the lungs are clear of salt water," Evelyn said, pointing to a series of digital charts on a nearby monitor. "Chloe died of controlled asphyxiation, and look at the core temperature records. She wasn't in the bay for 2 weeks. She was kept in a commercial deep freeze for days before being dumped." Evelyn reached into a sterilized stainless steel tray and pulled out the silver locket Maya had seen on the beach. In the harsh, fluorescent light of the morgue, the jewelry shimmered with a haunting brilliance. Maya took it, her fingers tracing the intricate, hand-engraved scrollwork. It felt unnervingly cold. "This isn't just a replica," Maya noted, her voice hushed. It was the exact weight and design of the one Clara Vance had been wearing the night she vanished 10 years ago. Evelyn leaned closer to Maya, her glasses reflecting the sterile environment. "I found trace hairs caught in the hinge of the locket," she whispered, the weight of her words hanging in the air. "I ran a rush DNA panel against the state database." She paused, her gaze locking onto Maya's. "The hair doesn't belong to Chloe. It's a perfect match for her aunt, Clara Vance. This locket has been with Clara for the last decade, and somehow it ended up around her niece's neck." Maya eventually retreated to her room at the Salt Spray Motel, the walls feeling thinner and the town feeling smaller than ever. She sat on the edge of the creaky bed, her mind spinning with the impossibility of Evelyn's findings. 2 bodies, 10 years apart, linked by a single piece of jewelry that should have been lost to the sea. The darkness outside the window seemed to press against the glass, and the rhythmic sound of the distant surf felt like a warning. Suddenly, her phone buzzed with a notification, an encrypted text message from an unknown sender. Maya tapped the screen, and an audio file began to play. It was a recording of a bonfire party from 10 years ago. She heard her own teenage laughter, bright and carefree. Then, the audio dipped into a low, distorted whisper that chilled her to the bone. "You shouldn't have come back, Maya." You're next on the track list.